So how have you been, Sherry?
Well, I've been pretty good. Are you getting excited for Santa?
Oh man, you know me. I'm Mr. Christmas. I love Christmas. The problem now is that I have so many friends and people that I want to reach out to because it's kind of reinventing Christmas cards now because we can't go visit people, and so perhaps people are busy doing what I'm doing today, which is putting my list together and getting ready for the Christmas card mailings. And that's a pain because I don't want to forget anybody. And then, of
And
course, the post office.
that really is a cool card. But you know what? Do you think it's as cool as the one I sent you last year with the dancing ham?
I love that ham. When do you get a Christmas card with a dancing ham?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, the post office has been kind of reinvented of late, don't you think?
Yeah, but that dancing ham that I sent you, I was kind of confused by the one you sent back to me. It was an old shoe.
Yeah, it was like there's no business like shoe business.
Oh, yeah, I get it. All right. Well, and I have to admit that I did like the shoe better than the one you sent me the year before, which was the Cowbot. What was that about?
It's the same kind of concept, I have no idea how to even respond. You've seen one cow butt, you've seen them all.
Okay.
So what are we talking about?
Post offices.
Oh.
Postal service.
It's funny because I remember knowing my postman's name, the mailman's name, and the same one came to your house for years and years and years in my time. But it was a different time back then. And the post office, the postman, the mailman, and mailwoman, they knew everything that was going on.
Yeah, they did, didn't they? They knew before you knew what colleges you did and did not get into. Because if they had the skinny package, you got denied. And if it was the thick package, you got in.
And my packages were always pretty much skinny.
Oh. Well, I don't know if you follow Dennis Sadowski. He writes a column about postage stamps and postal factoids from the past. He's in the Chronicle on Sundays, and he recently did an article that I thought was particularly interesting because he talked about Penfield Township. You know where that is?
Oh, yeah. There are a bunch of times.
Well, did you know that they had one of the very first post offices in our county?
In Penfield?
Yeah, it was in Penfield Township. And the mail was delivered by a post rider who would bring the mail by once a week and leave it, guess where? You can't guess. In a hollow tree.
Really?
In a hollow tree, yep. At the corner of Indian Hollow and, let's see, State Route 83. It wasn't 83, it was State Route 18.
Yeah, that sounds more like it.
Yeah.
So keep going.
Well, anyway, we moved on from hollow trees and we actually started having little postal offices, if you will. You know who some of Avon Lake's first postmasters were? First man is a name by Alfred Willis. Name I hadn't heard before. Had you? Willis.
Hey, Willis.
Yeah, Alfred Willis. And he was a postmaster here in Avon Lake in 1892. And then the next postmaster after him in 1893 was, guess who?
I think it was old 50 Center.
Yeah, Anton Tomenek. He was our next postmaster. And then there was a John Cotton and George Jaycox who followed them. You know that name, Jaycox, right?
Yep.
Jaycox Road here in Avon Lake, named for that.
Don't bring up, you see, every time we do these, Sherry, you have to bring up the road names. You know what that does to me. You have to bring them up, and I know you think you accidentally do it, but I know you do it on purpose.
Okay, well, let's just move right on along.
All right.
Now, our first post offices were located in two places. One was Beach Park. We've talked about that in one of our previous one. Another, again, unofficial location, but within Avon Lake was Folger.
Ah,
Folger. Do you know where that was?
I'm just guessing it was somewhere around 83.
You're right, 83 and right about Pin Oak, where Pin Oak Parkway is now.
Mm, okay.
That
So it
general.
was on the this side of the tracks.
Yeah.
Makes sense because when the mail came through on the, you know, on the nickel plate eventually, when the railroad came through here, it probably made it an easy place for them to drop it off.
Yep. And then later on, we had a post office on Lear Road. Now, I don't remember this, but I know you told me that you
Oh, I
know
do.
that.
I remember that post office like it was yesterday. And my friend Jim Clifford, who was my best friend and continues to be my friend today, when we grew up, it was called Juliuss's Gyp Joint. And I have no idea if his name was Julius or not, but it was the old post office building, and it had the old false front, the old, like an old West building,
Uh-huh.
and then it was full of novelties and gag stuff. And I don't know what else he sold. Gosh. Yeah, that was Juliuss's Gyp Joint, right on the corner of Lear and Electric. And it was the southwest corner.
Southwest corner, okay. Well, going back to Anton for just a minute here. He's remembered up for a couple of things. Anton was. First of all, he was an unfortunate victim of a fire on multiple occasions. In one of those occasions, his post office caught fire and burned to the ground. But according to local newspapers, he was successful in saving most of the mail from the post office from that fire.
If he's any blood relation of mine, he probably made sure that just his mail was burnt up.
His bills.
Yeah. Oops, it looks like I didn't get that one.
And then Anton, the other thing that he's remembered for or recognized for is mail delivery to your home once a week. That was pretty progressive.
Yeah, and now we get it like every 17 minutes. It's like Northfield. Brown truck stops, the UPS, the mail guys delivering from Amazon.
Yep. Well, then in July of 1900, there was another postmaster who came along. Ready? I'm going to push your hot button again. Joseph Sakura. Wasn't he a good friend of Anton?
Yeah, they were close. Not. I mean, at some point there was lawsuits filed. They were trying to settle an estate and a debt that my great-grandfather apparently had. And I wish I really knew. These are those moments in time when you wish you could just know exactly what happened. So when yeah, because I'm thinking that the reason that there's no Tomenek Drive in Avon Lake is because of that rat Sakura.
Oh, is it his fault? Okay.
Well, I think that he got involved with the city and he might have been involved in the politics of the time, and
definitely.
it might have been maybe we shouldn't, since that Scalawag Anton, old 50 center, is such a Scalawag. I don't think we should name a street after him. Yeah, that's what I think might have happened.
He got involved in higher than just city politics, so maybe
there's some skullduggery going on.
Skullduggery.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then in the 1900s, the U.S. Civil Service Commission came along and implemented some harsh, I'm going to call them harsh, and even offensive, some of them. Since everybody's being offended, I'll just go ahead and be offended myself. I'm not restrictions offended. On postal carriers. Okay, well, now just listen, and you'll figure out why I'm offended. So first of all, you had to take a written exam in order to qualify for postal carrier. And the purpose of that was to determine general intelligence and adaptability in post office work.
Well, you have to be able to read in order to deliver the mail.
But listen, it gets worse. So to be a postal clerk, you had to be at least 18 years of age. That makes sense, right? Yeah. But if you want to be a postal carrier, you had to be between the ages of 21 and 40. You had to be at least 5'4" tall. I'm offended. And you had to weigh at least 125 pounds.
Covered.
I'm offended.
I got it covered. Well, the reason you have to be tall is you can't necessarily, Sherry, trying to be politically, You couldn't reach the mailbox. How are you going to get the letters in when you're a little short person?
Well, then they can just lower the mailbox.
That's it. That's it. They were all about that.
Save on lumber. You just lower the mailbox.
We'll just hire tall postal carriers.
Well, then April 16th, 1912, Avon Lake filed its application to change the name of its post office from Beach Park to Avon Lake Post Office. How about that?
Avon Lake, not Avon? It went right
No.
there? Okay.
Avon Lake Post Office. That's
Okay.
right. And although from 1902 to 1921, again, this was harshness, female postal employees could be terminated for getting married.
Well, you know, when you get married, you get into all that stuff about you can't go to work because you got to take care of your babies. You know, you got to, I get that.
Oh, you're going to get hate mail.
I'm going to get hate mail.
Get.
I don't get that. But then again, it was a different age, a different time.
Well, and Avon Lake was far more progressive than that because they hired a postmistress in 1912, and her name was Lucy Jamison Beebe. And her husband, Miles Beebe, was a motorman for the Lakeshore Electric Railway. Just a factoid there for you.
That's pretty cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then in the 1930s, we had another postmistress, Florence Gyp.
Another family, another cousin. So wait a minute. So how many other communities are you aware of that actually had a female in those kinds of positions? Did that become more commonplace, or were we out there on our own?
You know, we're just so much more progressive than everybody else. That's
I'd like to think that myself.
well,
Yeah.
let's.
Okay. Okay.
So postmistress Florence, she sounded like she was a tough cookie. You were talking about, you know, women once they get married, they can't handle this. But listen to this. Her post office was robbed on 2 occasions in 2 successive years. The burglars got away with postage stamps.
Yeah, that's what I'd go for.
A little bit of change, and her revolver.
Now there you're talking.
That tells you something about Florence.
She was packing.
She was packing.
And she probably didn't have a CCW either.
Oh, no. And she, after the first burglary, she got her gun back. It was returned to her by the police who got it.
Big mistake.
The second robbery, that same revolver was stolen a second time.
I wonder where that revolver, that's part of Avon Lake history. You got to dig out that gun. That gun's got to be somewhere.
It's somewhere. Somebody's got to have it.
Man. Did she ever like shoot at anybody?
Well, I don't know, but I'm sure that she had that gun for a reason, don't you think?
I guess. But back then, you know, I read a story. Everybody had guns. Everybody carried a gun. And I remember someone telling me a story about the high school students would have to check their guns at the door before class and then pick them up on their way home because people would hunt, you know, small game. And yeah, that's a true story.
Okay.
Or close to true. I'm not sure.
So Florence is also known for another accomplishment, another postal accomplishment. And she was postmistress when there was mail service to all houses in Avon Lake, north of Walker Road. So everybody who lived north of Walker had to have a postal box attached to their house or near their house for postal daily delivery. So she expanded on what Anton had started. And now look where we are.
So did she, was she like in a horse-drawn kind of a vehicle, or did she deliver by hand or by foot? I mean, did they have to put their mailboxes out by the street? Or don't you? I mean, we may not even know that.
I don't even know that because I wasn't around in the 30s. Were you?
I have an old soul.
What does your soul say?
My soul says, Tony, shut up.
Okay, so here is your trivia question. We'll wrap up with this, and I'll let you get back to your cards, but
I'm freezing to death. I need to get in and get by the fire, so will you hurry up?
Yeah, I'll do that. Do you know why post offices began selling postal stamps in 1855?
No.
Because prior to that, you could send a letter without a stamp on it, and the recipient was expected to pay upon delivery
Not
of
a
the
good
letter.
plan.
And yeah, exactly.
Not
Too many people were declining their mail because they couldn't or wouldn't pay for it.
Yeah.
So finally, the post office said, you know what, enough of this. You come in here, you buy your stamps up front and put it on your mail, and then we'll deliver it.
That kind of reminds me of the old Little Rascals pay as you exit theme when they did the, you know, you go to see their play and you pay as you exit. Nobody gave them any money. They all just left. But, you know, Avon Lake's got a lot of history, and a lot of us who grew up here know some of it. But, you know, I think if you spend a little bit of time like you have, Sherry, reading and learning about the real depth of our history, we have a rich history here with all kinds of stuff like the post office and, you know, great grandpa and the post office burning to the ground, those kinds of things. So again, you know, it's been a great 85 minutes, and I appreciate you taking the time. And so until our next show, it will be Tony saying goodbye and
Spencer.
bye. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.